All this time, I was under the impression that Phase 1 was just really forgettable and bland. I didn't blame anyone because it was understandable, seeing as how they were just getting started with the whole cinematic universe shindig. But going back through the MCU and reviewing every film leading up to Black Widow may have been one of the most insightful projects I have ever started. Revisiting Thor was a welcome surprise, seeing as how I used to dislike it only a little bit less than The Dark World, and now I feel it's incredibly underrated. And the same, if not more, can be said about this film. Captain America: The First Avenger is not only one of the most entertaining Marvel movies, but one of the greatest origins for a superhero ever told. Thank you for clicking on this video. This is Certain Vids, a channel where we like to talk anything and everything movies a lot, and this is my review of Joe Johnston's Captain America: The First Avenger. Let's begin. The First Avenger is a weird movie because of its ups and downs. The downs are very distracting, while the ups on the flip side are super engaging. The greatest achievement of this movie, without a doubt, is the pacing. This is maybe the most well-told story I have seen from Marvel Studios. There are lots of things going on, but the bridges in between those things are upheld with such strength that you barely notice the transition. Not everything happens for a reason, but even the most coincidental of things seem more like fate than they do an accident. And the main driving force of all of this is Steve Rogers, the most wholesome character in the entire franchise. It can sometimes feel as if he's putting on an act because of how genuine he is. It's hard to believe a kid of that stature can have a personality like this and morals like that. It's inspiring. Steve Rogers evokes feelings in all of us, that we can't let things out of our reach bog us down. That if we have what it takes to make a difference, then we can make a difference. It's just a matter of when, not if. That is clearly a positive role model, and the type that should be represented more in modern comic book movies. In this film, more than any other, Steve's heroism is really reflected. It's not that he isn't a hero in other films, not at all. It's just that here, when shown as two physically opposite ends of the spectrum, yet retaining what makes him special on the inside, he feels complete. The words Dr. Erskine tell him not only stick to Steve, but are meant for us as well.
Because a strong man who has known power all his life may lose respect for that power, but a weak man knows the value of strength.
Whatever happens tomorrow, you must promise me one thing. That you will stay who you are.
Not a perfect soldier, but a good man.
That we can't let power get to our heads and make it lose what made us capable of earning that power in the first place, our heart. But I believe it to be the charm that goes much too overlooked. The film has a distinct sense of humor that I honestly kind of miss from comic book movies. A couple of fun lighthearted jokes to help the mood, but nothing that detracts from the tension and that ultimately brings a smile to your face. Some very war hero type lines to evoke a sense of grandeur, and just the right amount of cheese. No, not that cheese, this cheese. And it's the Steve-Bucky friendship that's the icing on the cake. It isn't a forced dynamic. The way they interact and the ways they have been interacting are established from the first time we see these two together. When the tables kind of turn, it is comedic but also thought-provoking. There are layers upon layers that are unraveled as the movies go along, but it is the establishment that is so captivating for me. And those last couple of minutes are groundbreaking. They are some of the most ferocious yet simple couple of minutes I have ever seen in a superhero movie. The dialogue is kind of corny, not gonna lie, and it all really shouldn't work, but it does. I had goosebumps when Steve went into the ice. Seeing him break out of that hospital room and realize where he has ended up is still one of my favorite MCU scenes. Ever since this film came out, this part of it has always stuck with me. I think I can confidently say this is one of the most memorable MCU moments ever. Now, I may be making it sound like this film is near perfect, but does it have problems?
Oh boy, yeah.
For starters, the CGI doesn't really hold up. I was starting to laugh a little because of how ridiculous scenes look sometimes. I get that it's 9 years old, but the Incredible Hulk is even older, and that looked pretty decent, so time period really isn't an excuse. Now, that's not to say that all the action scenes suck, because whenever it's all practical, it's glorious. People praise the Winter Soldier for having some of the most thrilling and innovative fight choreography in the franchise, and while I agree, the First Avenger isn't exactly slacking. Pretty much everything regarding physical combat in this film is spot on. There's even a natural progression of the intensity of the fights, since Steve is pretty inexperienced when he first gets the serum and the action is a bit more timid. But by the end, he's been Captain America for quite some time, so his fighting is noticeably more efficient and harder to counter. But besides all of that, there are some very funky shots, to say the least. And that one montage of Steve being actual Cap during different points of the war is a perfect example of that. It's also pretty poorly edited and took me out of the film quite a bit. The score is nice yet pretty light, and it doesn't offer a lot of build-up and payoff, which is what I prefer. But the biggest sin here is no doubt the villain. Red Skull is one of the coolest and most intimidating villains you could have gotten for a World War II movie with Cap. And in this film, he is ridiculous. His entire plan can be summed up in a couple of words. Earth has power. I deserve power. Give me power. That's it. That is the dumbest and most cliche bad guy I have ever seen in my life. All he wants to do is take over the world, but you never really find out what he's going to do after that until Arnim Zola, of all people, explains it in the next movie. 3 years later. Nothing about Smith seems like he could go toe-to-toe with the Star-Spangled Soldier. He is the biggest waste of a comic book character, a cool comic book character I have ever seen, and yes, I have seen Iron Man 3, and I like it. And even if I silence the comic book nerd in me, there's no denying he's such a poorly written character that he didn't even have to be in this movie. Thank goodness they bring him back in Infinity War with some purpose, because things weren't looking too hot over here. All that aside, I had a great time with this film. Not enough to say it was a surprise, because I've always kinda liked it, but enough to really have gathered a new perspective on Phase 1 as a whole. The storytelling is so darn good here that it makes all the other origin movies in the MCU look kinda meek. The birth of Captain America is handled so well in the war perspective, while very comic booky at times, is a nice sense of groundedness to have in a film like this. It's still the weakest in the trilogy, but because of how good it is on its own, it makes it all one heck of a trilogy. I'm going to give Captain America the First Avenger an A- with 4 out of 5 amusement stars, and I'll stick with the I don't know recommendation for now. Let's be honest, you've seen this movie if you're watching my channel, so I'll just leave it at it's worth a rewatch. Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching this video, it really means a lot. If you enjoyed, click that like and subscribe button as well as that notification bell so you stay up to date on all future content. Let me know what your opinions are on this movie. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Or are you just in the middle on it? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. Make sure to go check out my friend Eli Taylor Reviews' channel in the description. I just did a collab with him this past week, which should be up tomorrow, Monday. Or maybe it is by the time you're watching this. I don't know. Maybe you're watching in the future. Just click that notification bell so you don't miss that video over on his channel. And click the notification bell on this channel because I do weekly live streams in which I invite a guest from another channel over. So far, I've played some trivia, as well as had a lively discussion about everything entertainment, and you don't want to miss out on those, so definitely click that notification bell to stay as updated as possible. And before I forget, huge shoutouts go to YoBear and Lucifer Morningstar for winning the Spider-Man trivia I played about 2 weeks ago. The prize was a shoutout, so there you go. And that will do it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Until then, have a great rest of your day, and stay positive.